Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. Bonsoir is, I believe, what we're supposed to say. How's everybody doing? Good. I am thrilled to be here with Amanda and Alexis. We're going to talk about the future of work and of Gen Z, how we can better support Gen Z in the workplace. As a generation, they're very different. They have different expectations, different needs, and I genuinely believe, as the boss of many a Gen Z myself, that they're making the workplace better every day. And so let's get into it. My first question is for you, Amanda. I'm curious what support you received, mentorship or otherwise, as you were on your trajectory to where you are now.
Hello? Oh, great. Hi. Thanks so much, everyone, for coming. I know we were delayed a little bit. Thank you. It's great to be here with you. That was an excellent question. I had so much support on my journey to be where I am today, and I could not be here without that. I think really it was a strong network of women that really raised me up. For example, when I was in high school, I was part of a program called Right Girl, which partnered adult female writers with young female teenagers in Los Angeles so we could see what it was like to make a livelihood through storytelling and through truth. And that showed me such representation at a young age. And so I'm so grateful that now in my position I get to give back to a lot of those same organizations that lifted me up.
Amazing. And Alexis, you were talking earlier off stage about your stepfather inspiring you. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, I moved to Norway basically because of my mom met my stepdad in Dubai, of all places. And when I met him, he was such a creative person, and I had never been around such an environment. So he truly encouraged me to learn the language better through videography, photography, and even music. So from there, I've just been into the creative world in a whole different level.
Amazing. Good on him. So, Amanda, your title with Estée Lauder, it's not the typical spokesperson title. It's Changemaker. Will you tell us about that?
Yeah, first to my fellow panelists, I'm going to say, I think with the wind, we essentially have to kiss our mics. So I think we have to speak, forgive us if we're speaking very close to our microphones. It's just so you can hear us as much as possible. I am not making out with it. But to answer your question, yeah, I was so grateful when Estée Lauder approached me because they really did it with a wide blank page and said, what do you want to do, as opposed to kind of dropping me into the cookie cutter mold of, this is what's expected of a spokesperson. You sell this product and you look good and you walk red carpets. We really wanted to work together as thought partners. So through that, we founded the Writing Change initiative through the Estée Lauder Companies Fund. And it's been great. We've been able to essentially give $3 million to incredible 5 organizations that are doing work around literacy. And so I call it kind of putting where our money and our makeup where our mouth is, really walking the talk, talking the talk as well. And so I'm really grateful we were able to do that in an unorthodox way.
Money and makeup where our mouth is. That's so good. Someone write that down. That's so good. So for both of you, one of the things I'm really curious about is if you can tell us how young people are feeling about the workforce that they're walking into. Are they optimistic? Are they anxious? How are they feeling, and how can their mentors and their managers support them?
Do you want to go?
Okay, I can go first. Well, when I think about this question, I think a lot about my peers. They often talk about, what is it? Please, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, so just asking about what young people think about the workforce that they're walking into today.
Oh, okay. So when we talk to my peers, they usually mention that they really want a place that offers diversity in terms of different races, people from different places, even though they're from in the same country. And they also talk about they really want to be challenged by their mentors, their workers. So yeah.
I absolutely agree. I think diversity is huge. I also think agency is a significant part of that. Gen Z, at least especially in my age range of people who were graduating around this time, etc., we've entered a workforce that was incredibly unstable for the past few years. We've seen a recession, we've seen the great resignation, we've seen COVID, and I think when you're entering something that feels unstable, you want the power of choice. You want the power of freedom, and that doesn't mean I get to come in whenever I want and there's no boundaries, there's no rules. It means my life can still operate and be a life even as operating within this force, and I have options for my livelihood. And I think that's something, for example, in my mom's age group, the baby boomers, you didn't necessarily see. You would sign on to a job and stay there for 20, 30 years. Gen Z, we're changing jobs every few years, and I think something that would help us create roots and stay is if those roots could be as wide and free-reaching as possible.
It's so interesting. When you talk about agency being so important to Gen Z, is that why you think the creative industry is appealing to them? Because there can be some, self-direction?
Absolutely, 100%, and I'd love to hear Alexis's thoughts on this as well. But I think already in the creative industry, you're thinking outside of the box and outside of the norms of the workplace. And I think that's why marketing, ad sales, etc., publicity really calls to those people who the idea of sitting at a desk and doing only the same thing every day might drive us insane. We want challenge, we want connection, we want collaboration. We want to feel like we're pushing ourselves while being part of something larger. And I think that's part of the DNA of the creative industry.
And Alexis, you're a part of the creative industry. You're a young talent in it. What do you think is appealing about the creative industry for you and for your generation?
I think what's appealing is, like Amanda said, the way there's so much flexibility. You're basically able to do so many different things in the creative industry, and it's not just typing away, sending some papers. You literally never know what the day brings. And you just have to dive it head on every single day. And I think that's kind of beautiful.
Absolutely. What do you think, Alexis? What's one thing that you wish the people in power knew about what you and your generation have to offer to them and to the workforce and to the consumer?
I kind of wish they knew that Gen Z is sitting on a lot of insight. We are a very open generation. We're open for challenges. We're open for so many things. And we have so many ideas. So do not put us on the side. We're just waiting for someone to just listen to our ideas. So I really wish, that's the most important thing, that we're just ready. Just pick us.
Put them in, coach. Love that. So how are you both finding new mentors now? It's a tough one, I know.
Yeah. I mean, I used to be in such the mentor hustle where you meet anyone and you're like, hi, please support me. I need your help. And I think as I grew, I learned to see mentorship as needing to be as reciprocal as possible. Meaning I'm like lying prostrate like this. Like, please take me under your wing. But I think there's so much that mentors get from mentoring. I get so much from teaching. I learn so much. And so I think the way I find new mentors is by finding my own voice and my own value and saying, here's someone who has so much to teach me. And whether I know it or not, I might have something to offer to them in the long run. And so I think in the long term, those people who were my mentors were actually colleagues now, which is insane. But I don't think I would have gotten to that point of equity if I hadn't always thought of how can we stand on the same footing, even knowing you have more experience and more to teach me, but I don't want to be a weight and a burden. I want to be someone that's growing and maturing. So you look up and you say, hey, I actually want to do something with Amanda Gorman, not as a mentee, but as an equal. And so I think that's what I'm continuing to do. You're my new mentor as of today. And we were just talking about this, and I was thinking you about so much of what Cosmo has been doing. So, yeah, and I think we approach it as, I love what you do. You've been a great supporter. And so approaching it that way as a real relationship.
It's super smart. My own mentor recently said that when you want someone to be your mentor, you should offer something to them instead of just asking them to sit down with you and pour out their soul, pour out their time, which is so valuable. But to say to them instead, I would love to help you do this. How can I support your work on that? Everybody needs that assistance, and so that's a great way to go about it. So I have one last question for you both, which is, what do you think should, or what do you hope to see change in the creative industry in the next 5 years, 10 years?
You like to go?
Okay, so we have this thing in Norway where most of the creative industry is flooded by men. I just want to, when I finish school, to come into my workplace and see more than just men, like every single gender. Because it's like, I don't know if it's the same way in other countries, but I see a lot of women studying in creative industries, but I don't see them in the workforce. So that's one thing I wish I could truly see more of.
I mean, I agree with all of that, and I'm trying to find something different because that's everything I believe in. I think I want to see more voices on the table. So many times I see ads, commercials, projects, and I know for a fact there is not a single Gen Z person in that room making that decision making. And so I would love for us not to just have our data taken to make these things, but actually have us in the conversation, have us in the dialogue, so we see the next generation really being supported and groomed to be those creative minds that we need.
Amen. Hear, hear. And with that, I think we'll let Gen Z have the last word. Thank you so much for joining us today. That was wonderful.
Thanks. Awesome.